In today's Leeds news, Boast leaves Leeds EFL Trophy Draw. Leeds still pushing for Diarra. Aaronson clear on his future. And today's Rumour Mill stories on the back pages on Douglas Luiz and Mahdi Camara. Hiya folks, welcome back to The View. Friday the 27th of June with your Leeds United news as we get very much closer to that 30th of June PSR window, which will likely start to see other clubs start to move for targets, money to free up a little bit, and then maybe we see the transfer window kick into gear. There's very little transfer stuff today which has been requested by people, so we'll see how we get on today. But just to bring your attention to the event that's happening in Dublin on July 3rd in the Camden in Dublin, an evening with the Whites. Jermaine Beckford, Andy Cousins and Tony DeRigo will be in attendance, happening at, as I say, the Camden in Dublin, 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, July 3rd. You can head down there if you want to have a really good evening out in probably Ireland's best spot for Leeds United content. So we're checking that one out. Let's crack on today and start off with the news. And we'll start off with an exit of the club. And that's Oliver Boast. And last month we mentioned that there was some speculation around a potential exit for Leeds United's highly rated 16-year-old attacker Oliver Boast, with Spurs the likely destination of a fee of, at the time rumoured, £1 million. Last night, Barron Cross confirmed that the deal has now been completed and Boast will leave Leeds and head to Spurs for next season for a reported 7-figure sum, which is still rumoured to be in and around that initial £1 million that we mentioned. As Boast is 16 years of age, Leeds didn't really have a huge amount they could do with this situation. Spurs only had to negotiate with the family, and the fee was paid to avoid moving into a tribunal situation where Leeds could have potentially ended up receiving less money for the attacker. So Leeds and Spurs agreed on this fee. It's another blow for Leeds United's academy after seeing Finlay Gorman leave about a year ago as well, when he headed off to Manchester City for a reported £5 million, which was then seen as a record for a 15-year-old. Boast moves on now and joins up with the Spurs academy for next season. We'll see if he gets the same opportunities to play under 21 football there as he did with Leeds this season, and if he does, we'll see him go up against Leeds United in the Premier League 2 campaign next season. So yeah, not great to see some of the young players move on. Everyone's now worried about Harry Gray heading in the same direction. I think Harry Gray's likely ties to the club will keep him here a little bit longer, and he is expected to get a pro deal from Leeds when he turns 17 in October. Let's move on, talk about the EFL Trophy Draw with no E. And yesterday we mentioned that Leeds under-21s will take part in this season's EFL Trophy. And the draw took place yesterday afternoon, and Leeds have been placed in a group with Accrington Stanley, Fleetwood Town and Port Vale for the competition. This is a really good opportunity for the Leeds United under-21s to advance their development, to play against first-team sides and to play against, I suppose, grown-up men in a more competitive environment, to see how they measure up against them and then to see which of those players could potentially be the next player to break through in Leeds and get into that first-team squad. Let's move on and talk about Habib Diarra, who is clearly still Leeds' number one target this summer, at least for the central midfield positions. Leeds' initial bid was rejected, and now it's said that Everton and Brighton and Hove Albion are all said to have some level of interest in bringing Diarra to their clubs, but as of yet, Leeds are the only club to have put in a formal bid from the UK. Reports this morning from Fabrizio Romano say that Leeds are still pushing to get a deal done for the Senegalese midfielder, but that the deal is a complicated one at best. Speaking to Give Me Sport today, Romano had the following to say: Diarra is one of the most appreciated options internally for them, but it's not an easy deal because of the valuation. So it's a complicated one to make happen, but Leeds are trying. Romano also confirmed that Leeds are said to be in active negotiations with Diarra around this move, and although it is a difficult deal to get done, Leeds believe that the effort will be worth the output when they get the deal done, if they can in fact get that deal done. It'll be a tricky one to get done. It's moving on a bit long now. The interesting part here will be, well, how long are Leeds willing to negotiate with this to get a deal done before they walk away and look at potential other targets in that midfield area. Leeds are said to have a shortlist. We know that Noah Siddiqui is definitely on that as well. That was confirmed from The Athletic, that there is genuine interest in the player after they contacted the club, and Leeds said, yeah, there is interest in Noah Siddiqui, but he is seen as the secondary option to Diarra. Let's move on. Let's talk about Brenden Aaronson and his future at the club. And there were some loose reports at the end of last season that there could be some interest in the American international moving away from the club. But the American midfielder has had a pretty decent Gold Cup for the USMNT this summer. And Aaronson has been speaking about his future while on international duty and has been pretty clear on where his plans lie for the next 12 months at the very least. Aaronson has 2 years left on his existing Leeds United contract, and we all know that he goes into next season knowing that there will be increased competition in that number 10 position should Leeds be able to bring in their targets. But based off his recent comments, Aaronson doesn't see his career going as a number 10. He sees it in the central areas playing as a number 8. Speaking to Goal on his future plans while on international duty, Aaronson had the following to say. After this tournament, it's going back to Leeds and having a fantastic season in the Premier League. It's how the club thinks, what we're going to do next, who are we going to add. They always have to make decisions regarding the Prem, and once you win that trophy, it goes directly to how we're going to work to stay in the Premier League. I want to have a great season. I want to prove to everyone that I can do it in the Premier League. 2, Aaronson is very clear on the pressure that he faces next season as well as the club moving into the Premier League, but he was very proud of the work that he did last season and wants to continue to grow and get better into next season. Aaronson is very clear in this. He went on to say that he wants to prove the doubters wrong next season, that he can do it in the Premier League. And for me personally, it's always nice to see a player with a point to prove, a little bit of a bit between their teeth. It can add 5-10% to performances as well, but he will have competition, and that's healthy, and that's good. It pushes players on, and we'll see if that competition for place can push him on, or if he eventually does end up going into that number 8 midfield position. I don't think he's got the frame for it, but I could be wrong. We'll have to keep an eye on that one and see how he gets on. But he will be here at least for the next 12 months, and then over the next 18 months, I suppose, we'll start hearing about potential contract extensions or a potential move away from the club as well, depending on which direction it goes this year. Let's move on. And let's move into the Rumour Mill territory. And these are, as I always say, purely speculation and purely rumours at this point. Don't get too worked up or too wound up in the comments about these ones. They are from the back pages, but we'll give you the information and you can decide yourself how much credibility you put in these. And the first one is Douglas Luiz, and reports today coming out of Gazzetta dello Sport in Italy have claimed that Leeds have actually opened talks with Juventus about a move for the Brazilian midfielder Douglas Luiz. The fee when he moved to Juve last summer was £42 million, and that was seen as being a bit of a stumbling block should Leeds decide to make a move for the midfielder. But after struggling to settle in Italy last season and having a pretty below par season in Serie A, adjusting to the style of play there, a cut price fee of £21 million is now being touted, which opens the door for Leeds and other clubs to make a potential move for the midfielder. Juve want to sell Luiz this summer. They've got priorities in that position that they want to go ahead and move, and there is significant interest from Premier League clubs. I've said it before on this, Douglas Luiz's style of play is far more suited to the Premier League than it is to the slower tempo in Serie A, and that's been an issue around him settling in to the Juve squad. His £82,000 per week salary is also seen as a little bit of a stumbling block, as Leeds' highest earner was said to be on £80,000 a week at one point. And while he is a player I personally very much like and would like to see Leeds make a move for, I don't think he is a player Leeds will move for, and I don't believe that Leeds have opened talks with the player at this point, or even with Juventus. So yeah, we'll see what that one, it keeps popping up. We'll see where it goes. It's pinch of salt rumour territory for me. I don't see it happening, but he is a player I like. I would like to see it come in, but those wages would need to come down a little bit. Let's move on and talk about the last linked player today, and that is Mahdi Camara. And according to reports coming out of France, Leeds have some interest in Stade Brest's midfielder Mahdi Camara as an alternative option in the midfield area should they not get their primary target. Sunderland are also said to have been watching the situation around Camara and have some level of interest in him as well. And the report says that Leeds would be able to get the midfielder for at least £13 million, so a very affordable fee in that position of the park. Camara is 26 years of age, so fits within that 49ers bracket of players, and has 182 appearances under his belt for both Brest and Stade Etienne during his time in France. Camara's also featured 10 times in the Champions League and has scored a goal in the competition as well. And he's being described as an all-action midfielder who scored 5 goals last season and added 3 assists in 31 games for Brest. He's 5'10" in height as well, so he's no shrinking violet in the middle of the park. He would add a little bit more height in there as well. Leeds need to fill that role from Joe Rothwell moving, and for me personally, they need an additional midfielder in there as well from a more attacking perspective. They've only really got the one. They could utilise out Tanaka in that position, but they do need more box-to-box attacking options in that midfield area for next season for me personally. So maybe more to come in there. We'll see what happens with Diarra. We'll see what happens with Siddiqui over the next couple of weeks. As we say, it's 27th today, by Tuesday. But the PSR window will be behind us, and we will be then into a fresh PSR window, and we'll start to see some stuff moving pretty heavily. I would imagine you'll start to see deals, exits likely from Leeds at that point. That'll be it for me today, folks. No podcast this week because there really isn't a whole lot to talk about, so I'm not going to waste your time. But I will be back tomorrow with a live stream to wrap up the entirety of the week. We'll go back and look over all the stories of the week and see where they ended up landing, as well as some of the rumoured stuff that we didn't touch on in the main parts of the news last week. So you can check that out tomorrow afternoon. That'll be it for me today, folks, and this week. Massive thank you as always for supporting the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow for the live stream. And until then, have a great weekend and a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.